He then filed a lawsuit against me for $25,000.
Oh,
now, I had to borrow the money to get that book published. And I was working 2 part-time jobs while I was doing the book, and then taking on the project of doing a book at the same time. And throughout the entire investigation on Johnny's case, with the exception of the last year when I was writing the book, I had a full-time 8-hour job a day, plus 2 part-time jobs that I would do throughout the week. So I was working days and nights, and I was working weekends. I didn't have anything like a day off for years and years. And the book, you know, the expenses that we've had on Johnny's case for detectives and all of the money that has had to go out for just doing the things that the police didn't do came to close to $750,000.
Oh my gosh, Noreen.
Yes. And we didn't get big donations and things like that. Not at all. We did fundraisers like garage sales. They did bake sales. The neighbors pitched in and did a lot of that type of fundraisers.
Yeah.
People threw benefit dances. There was a few of those. And then all the rest of it was either from what I could raise with my extra jobs, or when I was on the national speaking circuit, every speaking fee that I got went into the bank to pay detectives. And you see, that was all money that I shouldn't have had to come up with, but I did it because the police were not helping me, and the FBI wouldn't commit the case. Few people realize what it has cost me to try and find my son. I mean, it has been 22 years of just absolute stress.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean stress of losing him, stress of, are you going to have enough money to keep it going? And that would just give me nightmares at night. Like, what if you run out of money and you can't keep it going? You're going to have to give up working to find your boy.
Yeah, right.
And so that's why I always kept working extra jobs. I had my daytime office job as an office manager, and then I worked for a fragrance company, and then I taught classes at night.
Wow.
Noreen, you'd be interested in this. Tell us about, and when you tell this story, and I have a follow-up to it, about the throwing the coffee cup at the FBI agent.
Yes.
What?
6 months after Johnny was kidnapped, another boy from Des Moines was kidnapped from the high school parking lot where he was attending school. And the kidnappers jumped into his Eldorado Cadillac and took the boy, and then made a call to the parents on the kid's car phone for ransom demand. Now, it so happened that that family was very wealthy. The grandfather invented the vending machine. Does that give you a clue?
Yeah.
As to how much money that they're worth? Okay. So the FBI jumped on that one. They brought in agents from Quantico, Virginia. They had SWAT teams. They had everything. They got the kid back in 36 hours.
Wow.
Unharmed. Well, the next day, a representative from the West Des Moines Police, and then a man named Herb Hawkins, who was a special agent in charge from the Omaha office of the FBI, plus our local FBI agent here, all came to our house. I think they just wanted to gloat about, solving the other case.
Yeah.
And I was just making coffee, and they came in, and Herb Hawkins said to me, "Oh, man," he says, "we really had to work on that case. There was a human life at stake." And by this time, they had moved to the table, and they were sitting down, and Herb was sitting in Johnny's chair at the table.
Yeah.
And I was was pouring the coffee and putting the mugs on a tray to carry over to the table. And when he said that there was a human life at stake, I said, well, what do you call my son? I said, you all wouldn't enter Johnny's case, you still haven't. What is this about a human life in the other case? And he said, Mrs. Gosch, there's something you don't understand. The other family were prominent people.
Oh, my gosh.
They are very wealthy. We had to start looking for their boy right away. And that did it.
Yeah,
I put down the coffee pot. I picked up a full mug of coffee, and I hurled the cup across the room and missed Herb Hawkins' face by a quarter of an inch.
The whole cup or just the coffee?
The whole cup.
Wow.
Well, they jumped up and started yelling at me and all sorts of things, and he wanted to know. He says, I can see you're overwrought. What can I do for you? I said, get out of my house. I said, if you're not going to look for my boy, I said, step aside because I'm coming through.
Good for you.
And I threw them out of the house. Well, then, Ken Wooden, who had investigated pedophiles for many, many years, used to work for CBS. He was a friend of mine. A few days later, he called me, and he said, hey, babe, what is this I hear about you throwing a coffee cup at Herb Hawkins? And I said, how did you hear about it?
Yeah.
He said, well, I was at the White House for a dinner with Ronald Reagan, and William Webster, head of the FBI, and some other dignitaries were coming in. And he says, I was sitting there wearing my Johnny Gosch button on my suit, and he said William Webster was very disgusted and upset when he got to the meeting. And he said, well, I just had to deal with some agent out in Omaha because some crazy woman in Iowa threw a cup of coffee at him. And Ken Wooden picked up, kind of perked up when he heard Iowa, and he says, well, what was her name?
Yeah.
And Webster said, Noreen Gosch.
Oh, my gosh.
And my friend Ken said in front of the president, he said, if that woman lost control for even 30 seconds, it's because your agent said something that was deplorable.
Good.
He got out of line, or she never would have reacted that way.
Good.
He said, I know her.
And Noreen and Ted, we're out of time.
Okay.
A real quick note.
Yes, sir.
I know Herb Hawkins. I sent him a copy of your book, Noreen.
You sent who a copy?
Herb Hawkins a copy of your book.
You did?
And never heard back from him.
I'm not surprised.
And I want to thank both of you for being on.